Let us now continue to hear from Mr. Gurinder Osan from the many years of experience as a photojournalist. He has already shared with us some very important points on how we should work in the field of photojournalism. Let us explore further and deeper into this field with him.
Gurinder, tell us more about exactly the role that you're playing as a photo editor. As a photo editor of a news buyer agency or even of a magazine or a newspaper, what is expected of you? What is expected of any photo editor, and what are the skills or the attitudes or the preparation one needs if one is looking to have a career as a photo editor?
There is so much in this vast country of ours that is happening all the time. There is so much news being generated, and there are so many images that are being produced of those events across, like I said. Now, thing is that one is that we have to get that content, get those images. So, in the sense of having a network of photographers who are being able to source that. So, for us to be able to get that picture, that is the first part. Second is that when it does come to us, how to make sense of it. There is so much content being generated. There are so many pictures out there that are, and we are receiving like pictures in thousands literally in our organization also. Now, how do you make sense of it so that what we give eventually to our subscriber makes sense for the end user also, not just the newspaper organization, but also the potential viewer of that online streaming or the newspaper the next day. How to make sense of all of this data or all of these images, and for it to be done in a faithful, in a honest, in a ethical, in a proper way of ideal journalism. So the photo editor is hence is not just the gatekeeper. It's not that I'm just picking the right pictures. It's also about sourcing it from the right kind of people, getting the relevant news that is happening, what is it that is required, what is needed. So ensuring that content comes in, making sense of that content, putting it across in a way that captures all the details possible of the location, the 4 whys, as we know, who doing what, where and when, and maybe adding a little context of the news relevance, not just for today, but even 10 years from now we should know what this picture was talking about. So basically to make sense of all of this content is where a photo editor is playing a huge role. Once done, then it is reaching out to our subscribers. So how to deliver that content so that it is going across in a seamless way, in a way that everybody, whether it is somebody in Shillong or whether it is somebody in Pondicherry or it is somebody in Mumbai, it makes the same sense to all of them. Meaning it is understood in the same way. So how to address every news organization's requirement, yet put it across in a way that is easily understood and is adhering to very important and core principles of journalism.
So can you describe what is a workflow, and is there some system to it? Is there some logic to it? Is there some order to it?
Today, the DSLR makes it so easy. You just everybody goes everybody's become very trigger happy with the camera. But what is important is how to now make sense of so much data. So there's so much images happening. Everybody has piles and piles of pictures, but when it comes to needing it, when you need it for some purpose, you don't find it. So that's a function of organizing it properly from word go. And the thing is that if you don't do it on day one, it will never happen. So I'm a big believer of good design when it comes to workflow also. In terms of the workflow, like from where the news is happening, for the photographer to shoot it, to be able to send it to us, for us to cure it in the way of making the picture usable for our subscribers in the sense of proper post-production, proper captions, all the details possible, ensuring that there is no sort of going away from the basic ethics of photojournalism. Like, for example, we do not show a rape victim's face or a rape victim's family, amongst many other examples possible. And then to send it out to our subscribers in a way that is suitable to their content management systems also. It should never be personnel dependent. It should always be good by its own self. So that way there will be lesser room for errors and delays, and it just adds to overall efficiencies. So I would say even, I mean, I can boast to some extent, but even at Hindustan Times I did a lot of that part of, playing the role of designing it well, so that even though I'm not there now, a lot of those systems are still in place and are being used, and there is feedback that I still get that it has been useful to the organization. So I think it is very, very important that even for, say, if I'm not a part of a agency like PTI, even if I'm an individual photographer, I'm just maybe I'm just a freelancer who is shooting only for myself. Even then, how I organize myself is very, very important. So if I'm good by design, if I know how I'm shooting, how I'm sort of curing that content in terms of proper folders, proper labeling, proper captions, so that not just today, even after 10 years, 20, 30 years, if I want that content, it's available and it's reachable. So it's very important to be well organized as a freelancer, also as a single photographer also. So what I'm saying is that a good design helps, and it's very important that we pay a lot of attention to that.
At this point, I have a reflection spot for you. You will see some options on your screen. I suggest that you pause the video and reflect on the correct answer. Once you have done, then you can resume the video.
We have seen and heard from Mr. Gurinder Osan his varied experiences in the field of photojournalism. We know that he was a student of art, and his first initiation or introduction to photography happened at an art college. We know that he has worked as a news photographer. He has done also many commercial assignments, and he has been a photojournalist, both as a photographer as well as a photo editor. Adding to all of this, he has another interest, and which is his love for the mountains and his love for taking long drives and rides on his motorcycle. He has gone across the Himalayas, taking pictures and soaking in the beauty and the pleasure of being in the mountains. So as a photographer, it is not that you're only a photographer. You may also have other interests which add to your photography or to anything that you do. Through his interest and his passion for the mountains and riding on his bike, he has specialized also in landscape photography. So let's talk to him and find out about his engagement with landscape photography and how it has helped him develop himself as a photojournalist.
There is something called the golden light. In a lot of landscape photographers love to use that. And there is also that evening hour or the early morning hour, which is a very brief window of time. So, and if I have to, typically I'm going there with a very small window in terms of the time that I can spend there. How to make the best of that time. So it will need that I understand my subject. I understand that when it does happen in that small window of time that I'm getting in the early morning or the late evening, how do I get to make my choices in terms of lenses, camera, etc. and be able to shoot it as it happens so dramatically, so fast. So my instincts of photojournalism are hence getting applied to my landscape work also. So it is interesting how cross-discipline, cross-genres of photography, there is so much synergy possible. I was working for Business World magazine, which means that I'm shooting a lot of portraits, a lot of features on business news and the economy and things like that. So it's not hard news in that sense, but at that time that was my role. And there was Pushkar that had happened. So I had a small window of time and I decided to go to Pushkar, take a lot of pictures, and I came back. But I came back completely tired on a Sunday night, actually Monday early morning. I thought I'd catch a nap and then go to office. When I reached office, it was already 2 p.m. So my boss looks at me, "Wait." I said, "Should I speak the truth or should I tell you a lie?" He said, "Tell me the truth." So now, actually, when we came back, I decided to go to Pushkar, and I did. And I shot for 2 days, and I came back this morning. I thought I'd catch a nap, but I overslept, and now I'm here. That's it. This is the next assignment. So, but I mean, I must admire him. His name is Mukta. As a boss, he told me, he gave me that space that he's shooting, whether it is in the Himalayas or whether he's shooting Pushkar, he's bringing a richness from that experience that is synergizing his main body of work. Anything that we shoot, one is that I react to the situation as it happens. But that may seem, if there are so many photographers standing together and something happens, each one will somehow react differently also. So it may seem that, okay, it may be a question of the lens that I had on board or on my camera, or a question of where I was standing, but not really. Sometimes the picture that I get is sometimes a function of who I am. All my life I've seen, experienced, imbibed so many things, and that make me who I am. So if I'm shooting, I will be shooting with the perspective of all of that I've experienced to date. So when I compose my frame, all of those perceptions are playing a relevant role in my choices. So in a camera, I have the choice of framing the scene. Which means that if I'm including something in my frame, I'm not including other parts. What I'm not including is also a choice. Then, how am I shooting it? How is it that I'm going to tell that part of that developing event in a way that matters most to me, because eventually it's me shooting. So how do I tell my story, which is hence different from the person next to me. So it's not just about technique, it's not about having a different camera, better or worse. It's a question of the choices that one is making in terms of frame, in terms of moment, in terms of perspective. So, and a lot goes into it. It may seem like a simple choice, but it is not, believe me. You can have the same moment happening, and all the 10 people who are standing close by will have a totally different shot, because it is based on who they are. So, it's interesting how, photography works. It's not a question of what we are including, but also what we are not including in our image taking process.
I hope that this session has been helpful to you in your learning. Don't go away yet, because we're going to be back with more.